Good evening to all our viewers on Money Control. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. This is a very special conversation that we've lined up for all our viewers today with Aman Sharma. He's the senior editor joining us from the politics desk. Aman, thank you so much for taking time out to chat with us on a very
Yeah.
important day. And as we speak, a very important event is underway. The cabinet reshuffle that everybody has been talking about since the word go. Talk to us about the names so far who have taken oath, the names that have been made public. Were all of them on the expected lines?
Yeah, I think first we should maybe say that this is not a reshuffle. This is a huge revamp. You know,
Hmm.
the number of ministers who are taking office, especially new and old ministers, the strength of the Council of Ministers is up to 78. It is just shy of what the maximum strength can be. So this is a huge revamp
Yeah.
of the Council of Ministers by the Narendra Modi government, 2 years into power. And the exercise is also showing that a lot of homework has gone into it. Clearly a month or even 2 months have been taken to identify the new names who will be inducted into the Council of Ministers, and four big resignations. Four big ministers going out of the cabinet. Mr. Ravi Prasad, who was
Hmm.
handling Law Ministry, IT Ministry, Mr. Harshvardhan, who was handling the Health Ministry at the peak of the COVID crisis, Mr. Prakash Javadekar, who was handling INB and HRD, two
Hmm.
heavyweight ministries, and Mr. Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank, was handling the Education Ministry. So big names, nobody would have imagined these kind of big names going out of the cabinet. And we have big names coming in also. We have Mr. Bhupender Yadav coming in, who's been a very solid BJP hand in organization, a general secretary of many key states coming into the government, and a lot of other big names coming into the government, a lot of representation to women, a young
Hmm.
council of ministers. The average age of the council of ministers is down to 58. Perhaps it's the youngest council ever. Lot of representation to STs, to SCs, all kind of permutations and combinations. 25 states and UTs now represented in the cabinet. Lot of focus also
Hmm.
on the poll-bound states. Uttar Pradesh. Lot of ministers coming in from West Bengal, which just went to
Right.
election. So, yeah, I think it's a major exercise in that manner. And still, I think surprises are still in store because the portfolios are still to be announced. So we don't know who's
Right.
getting what. And, that may, a few more surprises may be in store. Yeah.
Right. I stand corrected. It's not reshuffle, but a complete reset, a complete
Yes.
reboot of the cabinet of ministers. Aman, like you said, a lot of big names, a lot of big portfolios are now vacant. They're up for grabs. A lot of big names have resigned just ahead of this oath-taking ceremony. Talk to us about, of course, health ministry is something that everybody will closely be watching out for, law and
Yeah.
justice and IT ministries as well. But are you picking up anything from your sources, from your fraternity about who could possibly be the front runners of these key core portfolios?
See, I think the first, I think I will just like to say that the reasons for the top ministers to move out, especially Prakash Javadekar and Ravi Shankar Prasad. Now, with Bhupendra Yadav coming into government now, there's also a vacuum in the party, and maybe they wanted senior politicians who are in the government to return to the party and help in the party work because we have key elections coming up. So that may also be a reason for Ravi Shankar Prasad and Prakash Javadekar moving back to the party. As far as what portfolio somebody will get, I think government has done a lot of homework. That is what I am told. Government has really gone deep into this exercise because health is something which, because of the COVID crisis, the way it's been handled so far, there's been criticism of the government by the opposition that it was not well handled, especially after what happened in the second wave. The oxygen crisis we have
Hmm.
seen, the crisis for beds. So, though Harshvardhan was seen, he is a doctor himself, though he was seen as a well-meaning gentleman kind of minister, but clearly there was a lot of, tussle also with the state governments, of Mr. Harshvardhan. I remember he wrote that
Right.
angry letter even to Mr. Manmohan Singh. So there's a history to
Yes.
everything. Even Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad ministry, we have seen the tussle with Twitter happening lately. Twitter even blocking his handle and then Ravi Shankar Prasad putting it out on Twitter.
Hmm.
And so all these factors may have been involved in the decision to move out certain ministers or bring in certain ministers. portfolios, I think the health ministry especially will be very closely looked at. No, I would not hazard a
Yeah.
guess right now that who would be given the health ministry or the, because these are very key ministries, as you said. INP ministry
Yeah.
is very key in this government. Health is very key. Education is a ministry which is virtually like a revolving door. We have seen so many ministers in education ministry, coming and
Yes.
going, and now we have another change. So that is very key to the government's core agenda to reform education. The rollout of the new education policy is also a big agenda item of the government. So let's see who gets what. But clearly, I think the senior ministers should be up for these ministries, like Mr. Sarbandu Sonowal, Mr. Narayan Rane is there, Jyotiraditya Scindia is there, Bhupender Yadav is there. These are senior ministers who are will be full
Hmm.
cabinet ministers. So obviously, I think these people will be in the running for all these top ministries. And also, people like Sarbanda Sonowal, come with a chief ministerial experience also. So, a lot of governance experience as we have handled a
Hmm.
state like Assam. So maybe the government chooses to give him a big responsibility now in the center. I would say watch out for these four top people who have taken oath: Bhupendra Yadav, Mr. Sribhendu Sonowal, and these people may be the key. Narayan Rane also. These people may get one of the top ministries. Yeah, which have got vacant. Yeah.
Aman, we're barely out of the second wave of the COVID pandemic. Several parts of the country are still witnessing a bit of a spike here and there. At a time like this, changing the health minister itself is a huge move and a huge development. Could it also mean that the style and the way of handling the pandemic could also perhaps change with a new person at the top deck?
Yeah, see, the view in the government for long has been to maybe get a specialist, because to handle
Hmm.
this crisis like COVID, it is not something, it's an unprecedented crisis. It's unprecedented pandemic which hit the country. So, the normal governance methods may not work when you handle such a pandemic. That said, the government does feel that Harshvardhan did a great job, given the constraints, given the way the second wave had hit, given the way there were many opposition rule states, which were unhappy with the way vaccines were being distributed. The whole vaccine policy underwent a change. It changed once and it was changed again when government started to procure all the vaccines now. So everything has gone through, trial and error in a way in the health ministry in the last 1 year. So maybe the idea is to get a new person, maybe new thinking into the whole process, because the same person has
Hmm.
handled the entire first wave, second wave. So maybe get a new person, and now
Yeah.
with vaccination picking up, and there's even the fear which is there of the third wave coming. Can the government avoid that with increased vaccination? So I think a lot of focus will be on that. I think also the government wants to have a maybe a closer coordinated working with the states. Not this constant friction which had emerged with the Mr. Harshvardhan and the various state governments. We had this ping pong going on between Mr. Ashok Gehlot from Rajasthan and Harshvardhan ji here in Delhi. All this Twitter wars. I
Hmm.
think that maybe is something maybe have been a factor. We don't really know. We can only speculate what are the reasons for the removal of top ministers. But what I'm
Yeah.
told is maybe performance plus also needing them back in the BJP organization, because some of the BJP organization people are now in the government. So just a rotation, kind
Right.
of a healthy rotation of talent. Yeah.
Okay. But tell me something. Have so many ministers been dropped like this midterm before, whether it's NDA or the UPA regime?
Yeah, it has happened, but I think not at this scale ever. 12 ministers going out. One of them, yeah, like Thawarchand Gehlot became a minister, and other MOSs like Babul Supriyo has been dropped. Some big names
Hmm.
really dropped from the cabinet. And so it's also, Babul Supriyo is also the next the other MP from Bengal comes in. So it's also a case of maybe, getting fresh blood into the cabinet, getting fresh blood into the way government works, because a reboot maybe is required to with the half term of the government, and there were much more frequent cabinet in Modi one government. Modi 2 is this is the first reshuffle. So I think it has been done with an intention that let's do a big scale exercise so that we don't maybe need another one for the rest of the government. So this is the way I think that do a comprehensive exercise once and for all. And also, an interesting part of this reshuffle is rewarding the performers. If you see people like Kiren Rijiju, Mansukh Madwadia, these people getting promoted,
Hmm.
R.K. Singh, the power minister who had independent charge, these are also the performers. If you see Anurag Thakur getting promoted. So Anurag
Yeah.
Thakur, if you
Yeah.
remember, had a very key role to play when the Haryana government was formed. He was the one who negotiated with Digvijay, with the
Hmm.
Dushyant Chautala, sorry, at that time, and that alliance was strewn at basically Anurag Thakur's house, and so this is also this I think this policy of the government to reward the performance, who have done well in the government or who have done even well as a politician. So R.K. Singh's performance in Power Ministry has been seen as sort of a success. Same is with
Hmm.
Mr. Mansukh Mandaviya, the way he handled the crisis in the pharma industry, the abroad and government, ensuring the industry injections and the medicine supplies was streamlined. So people who have performed well also have got promoted. So there is also this motto that if you perform, you also get promoted in the government, get bigger responsibilities. Kiren Rijiju is also again seen as a performer in the sports ministry, and him also
Hmm.
getting a promotion. Even G. Krishan Reddy in the home ministry. So he comes from Telangana.
Yeah.
And the way the
Yeah.
government, the Telangana BJP performed very well in the local polls. In the municipal poll, they performed very well. So
Hmm.
I think G. Krishan Reddy is being rewarded for that as well. So also sending a message to Telangana that we are putting a strong leader of your state as a cabinet minister now from an MOS. So this also, I think, is a very interesting facet of this cabinet reshuffle.
You know, what is the election angle here? Because of course, there's next year assembly polls in various states, and that I'm sure is also a factor that has been at play here as far as the reset is concerned.
Yeah, yeah. In Uttar Pradesh, for example, 4 to 5 ministers coming in from Uttar Pradesh, that is also,
Yeah.
in a way unprecedented, entering the cabinet at this stage. And a Dalit face has also come in. They have tried to do that rejig at the level because Uttar Pradesh is a very key state for the BJP now, especially after losing West Bengal. Uttar Pradesh is the big prize now for BJP going into the election in 2022. Uttar Pradesh will poll in March. So there was this feeling that, Uttar Pradesh is maybe underrepresented in the union cabinet, and adequate representation should be given to its biggest state of sense 80 MPs to the parliament. So more people coming in from Uttar Pradesh, and also this the caste dynamic which has been drawn from Uttar Pradesh, the way the ministers have come, the kind of names which have come,
Hmm.
it also sends a message to the electorate there because UP, all said and done, is a very caste-based election. People still vote a
Yeah.
lot on caste lines. So sending a message to all the communities there that we are inducting people from various kind of communities, and it was important to do that in Uttar Pradesh because there were problems with Uttar Pradesh. The government, the center had to do some rejig in Uttar Pradesh because there were complaints from various ministers there that they were not getting their due, various MLAs. So Yogi Adityanath government was facing a sort of a mini rebellion there. So this cabinet reshuffle, I think, would set the house in order for the BJP to go into the elections next year.
You know, could it also be because BJP perhaps actively wants to shrug off the image that it's not been able to work with allies?
Yeah, allies have got their due in this cabinet at least. We have
Yeah.
from JDU for the first time joining the government. I think that is very significant. RCP Singh joining the cabinet, he's the right-hand man of Nitish Kumar. So, all this buzz which has been going on in Bihar that the government may fall. And, Tejasvi Yadav, the opposition leader of the RJD, has recently mentioned last week that, the government may not last. So, I think RCP Singh's induction into the union cabinet, in a cabinet rank, he will also get a prominent ministry, settles the debate for Bihar that the government is there to stay. The BJP JDU alliance is not going to break. In fact, the JDU, which had not joined the union cabinet so far, has now finally joined the cabinet. So I think that alliance gets even more strengthened, and that debate, I think, Bihar ends. So the instability which was being projected by the opposition doesn't anymore exist in Bihar. Also, the induction of Anupriya Patel into the cabinet from UP, though in an MOS rank, she was earlier also MOS, but was not selected for the Council of Ministers in Modi too. So, that is an important thing because in UP also BJP needs alliances, and Apna Dal does have a sizable vote share there, and it is an important party, important ally of the BJP. Anupriya Patel had also come down to Delhi and met Mr. Amit Shah last month, saying that she should be inducted into cabinet because that will seal also the alliance in UP going into the election, Apna Dal and BJP. Now that alliance also gets strengthened. So for the BJP, reaching out to the allies because many allies have left. Shiv Sena has left, Akali Dal has left, so Harsimrat Badal had left. So two key allies of the government had left. So this government doesn't really want
Hmm.
to give out that message that it just can't work with anybody. The allies are just not happy. So four people into the allies will now be a part of the cabinet. two in the cabinet, one MOS rank and one in MOS. So in a way, these have also been accommodated in prestigious kind of in a better kind of way than earlier. So the only issue in that now, going ahead in the what the opposition will say that this is no longer minimum government, maximum governance. It's a jumbo cabinet of 78 people in the Council of Ministers. So I would like to maybe rechristen it as now it is maximum government and maximum governance, and all hands on the deck. As many as we ministers we can have, because of course, going ahead in this kind of pandemic, I think the thinking of the government also is to bring as many hands on the deck, have as many ministers as possible till the permissible level is there, because the pandemic has changed many things. So the pandemic maybe has also changed this motto of the Narendra Modi government, that minimum government maybe doesn't work. You have to keep your allies happy. You have to keep your MPs happy. You have to keep. So it's a maybe a now the political reality of the whole thing also has weighed in on everybody now, and that is why we see a jumbo cabinet, as the opposition would describe it, of 78 ministers.
So with this jumbo cabinet, do you also expect jumbo performance and some, perhaps large scale measures to be implemented, especially at a time like this when, several sections of the economy and the society are still reeling under
Yeah,
pressure?
yeah, they better should, because that seems the idea of this whole exercise. Government is not in a very comfortable position on economy or on COVID. We are not
Yeah.
out of the woods yet. It would be a mistake for anybody to assume we're out of the woods. I think this team needs to hit the ground running. There is simply no time for the ministers to, take a 2 to 3 months settle. And I think that is what the message the Prime Minister also gave to the ministers today morning when he met them, and he's meeting them again tomorrow. I think that will be the message from the Prime Minister, that we need to accelerate reforms. We need to accelerate the various packages which were announced by the finance minister recently. Atmanirbhar Bharat package needs to be fast tracked on the ground. There are various schemes going on. The ration scheme is going on. Elections are coming up. So the government really is short on time. This reshuffle also comes just a fortnight before the monsoon session of Parliament session is beginning on July 19th.
Hmm.
Government is going to face
Yeah.
some tough questions there as well. On the whole COVID
Hmm.
handling, on the entire economy. Fuel prices are record high, above rupees 100 a
Yeah.
liter. The government has a lot to answer on. So the ministers have to do their homework very quickly. Because earlier it was being anticipated that the cabinet reshuffle may not happen now because it's maybe a bit late. And because the parliament
Hmm.
session is just nearby, and ministers need to do their homework. Well, they have very limited time to do their homework now. It's just 12 days away. I think everybody will need to burn the midnight oil before the parliament session and be prepared to answer some tough questions from the opposition. Yeah.
Absolutely. Reset, reboot, prepare, and do all it takes, and just in time for the parliament session. All we need to now know is who gets which portfolio, and hopefully by tonight or earlier tomorrow morning, we will be also aware of that. Aman, thank you so much on that note for joining in, sharing with us a host of your insights on the big developments that have taken place today.
Thank you. Thank you.